Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 82 of the Office Hours podcast. In this episode, we're going to continue from where we left off in episode 81, talking about all things carnivore and whatever else comes to mind. Mosetti has a bunch of questions this time because last time was very
Oh,
spontaneous, and it
yeah.
feels like now it's going to be more deliberate. So, hopefully I'll be able to answer all of them
Oh,
and
actually, I hope so.
not
Actually,
shame my ancestor and my dog.
actually, I hope so. Because, I also found some internet answers to some of them. Today, I wanted I came up with like a list of like myths around, they call it myths, but you never know. This thing might be true. Myths about carnivore diet.
Hmm.
So, yeah. There's a list, and the first one on the list is you will become nutrient deficient without fruits or vegetables. Yes or no?
Uh, I would say no. Um, so scientifically, meat is the most nutritionally complete thing, as in
Mhm.
it has everything that your body requires. So if you eat just that, you should be fine. Like that's at least in the carnivore world, that's the consensus. And I mean, there are, if you look at just nutritional density of meat and nutritional completeness of meat, I don't think that anyone can disprove that. So for that one, I would say no. Fruits is going to be mostly sugar, maybe some vitamins, mostly vitamin C, which is again, we can talk about vitamin C later, but like on carnivore, vitamin C is not as crucial in absence of carbs because it has to do with like how your body processes carbs. So if you don't load it with carbs, you don't need as much vitamin C to deal with it. And again, you can naturally get a lot of it from animal based. In terms of vegetables, that's like a whole other thing because like yes, there are vitamins and minerals and all these other things in vegetables, but a lot of them are going to be in a lesser bioavailable forms, as in you get like your vitamin A, but it's going to be carotene instead of retinol, which is like a form of vitamin A, but you need like way more of the source to convert it to the form that you actually require. And if you eat animal based, you get it in the correct form right away, so your body doesn't have to do anything about it.
Mhm.
But then in vegetables, there's a lot of things that people refer to as anti-nutrients, as in they like actively interfere with your body in a lot of ways. So, for instance, if you consume certain vegetables, they may reduce your absorption of other things. Like they say, oh, like if you're taking this vitamin, don't drink tea because tannins in tea prevent absorption of that vitamin into your system. So, like if you're supplementing, even your doctor will tell you, like, don't mix certain things together. And on top of that, I guess um, if we go along that same train of thought, um, plants protect themselves mechanically by like thorns and various other things, but they also protect themselves way more successfully chemically. As in, internally, they make the chemicals to dissuade anything from eating them. And I think through like agriculture and selection, we've managed to reduce a lot of that. But like if you look at some things that we eat right now, like a couple of 100 years ago, before the series and series of like manual human interventions into them, you would find these things basically inedible, and in fact a lot of them would be poisonous. Like for instance, tomatoes is the same part, it's like the same family as like tobacco and belladonna, and belladonna is quite an effective poison, and they all share chemical compounds within them. It's just like through selection we managed to reduce a bunch of that stuff in tomatoes, so they are sort of kind of fit for human consumption. But most things, if you don't know how to prepare them, like vegetables and seeds, especially seeds, like how many people die from bean poisoning because they don't process the beans correctly? Like you have to do like all of these extra steps to make them edible. Otherwise, it'll either be extremely bitter or mildly poisonous or like seriously poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
And, don't even start me on mushrooms because those suckers will mess your life up pretty bad if you don't know what you're doing.
You know, while I was reading about these things, I was thinking about. I mean, I like to watch stories about ancient time. You know, like
About what,
Spartacus.
sorry?
Ancient times,
Ancient times? Okay, okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like Spartacus, or like like the Romans and stuff like this. In the
When was the
movies,
last time you've thought about the Roman Empire?
you know what? Often, I would say often actually,
You
but
know, it's
that's
that it's
another
that
story.
meme. Like most men think
Yeah,
about Roman Empire. Yeah, yeah. So
yeah. So, in the movies, I see what they mostly eat. Like, it's not meat, but
well, I
this
mean,
is the
it's the
movies.
movies, so it's a modern
But in real
interpretation,
life,
right? Huh?
no, no. But like in the actual life that they live during these times, did they also eat a lot of meat, or like did they also? Because they probably was eating tomatoes. They were eating fruits because grapes was food for the kings at the time. It wasn't even food for commoners. So
Right. So I think that like the time of Romans is a little bit further down because you have to remember that, and there's actually research for that too, is
Yeah.
that when humans went from hunting to farming, basically, they notice a certain shrinkage in average height and average cranial volume, as in like our heads shrunk when we went from hunters to farmers. But that was like tens of thousands of years ago, right? So Romans are
Uh-huh.
much closer to us
Uh-huh.
than
Uh-huh.
to humanity, like changing their primary dietary mode massively. Because I think well, again, it's from what I heard. I can't claim that it's true 100%, but basically we used to hunt megafauna, and
What
then
is
we
that?
hunt like giant sloths and like woolly mammoths and all these things, like huge
Okay.
creatures. And
Okay.
we got so successful at it that we basically hunted them to extinction or some natural cataclysm or something. So I guess eating vegetables and bread and like grain and things like that is basically like a backup plan because all the meat ran out. So that was we were
Mhm.
first forced into it rather than, you know, at least that's how I interpret it, is that, in absence of easy source of animal foods, we basically had to go into farming. And even during farming times, like if you read some religious texts, when it comes to
Mhm.
sacrifices, like sacrificing animals to your gods was a way worthier sacrifice than just sacrificing a bunch of plants. So you can kind of tell that in the
Okay.
hierarchy of things,
Okay. No,
it's
no, no,
still like
no,
way up
no.
there.
Let's not. No, let's let's not go there. You know what? Let's leave religion out of this. Like, you should stay on the Romans because, and the reason why I'm staying there is because, like, I feel like in those times they had like stronger bones. They had like more, and in those times, vegetables and like these things were considered the luxury meals, like the food for kings. They were not for commoners.
Well,
Most
that
of it,
that I can't necessarily comment on that because I don't know.
I'm not,
And
don't quote me
just
either.
saying that they were eating it and saying that they should have been eating it are two different things, right? And we're kind of talking about what people should be eating rather than what they are, right? Because again, in my personal view, I think people should be eating more animal based. If they're not able to, that's an entirely different story. So I'm here to sort of advocate for the reasons why you
Well,
should, and what happened back
well,
then, who knows?
fair enough. Fair enough. I
I
mean,
can only
fair
say
enough.
that they did analysis of
Hmm.
there's like a carbon isotope, or sorry, nitrogen isotope. So in human remains, there's a certain nitrogen isotope. I don't remember exactly. It's kind of similar to like carbon isotope dating, but it's nitrogen isotopes. And basically, nitrogen is a byproduct of protein breakdown. So if you eat a lot of meat, you're going to have a lot of nitrogen in your system. And they basically can determine the diet through the analysis of like remains that they find, some prehistoric people that, you know, they've unearthed some bones in some tar pit somewhere, and they can do this analysis and say, yep, these guys were eating predominantly animal based. So again, scientifically, you can't necessarily argue with that the way I understand it. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a ton of people who can argue with that, but you know.
You know what? I feel like most of these things like will be we'll get like better responses from like our audience, because like I'm not a chemist, I'm not a
It's
food
a very
scientist.
provocative subject.
I'm just literally reading questions that I know, you know, that I have for myself.
And I'm trying to answer them to the best of my own personal understanding, you know. So you can take it with as many grains of salt as you want. So I'm just here to talk about my personal experience and how it affected me personally, because that's the only thing that I can reliably convey. So yeah, let's go with the rest of your list.
Good. So also you were saying that you get all the nutrients that you want from animal products. I mean, according to what I learned about, I think it's true as well. And this is very interesting because most of the time, I think maybe for commercial purposes as well, like TV and all these like food magazines makes us believe that you need to eat carrots. Do you believe there is carrot juice? I mean,
so again, like carrot juice will give you beta carotene. As far as vitamin goes, it's not as good because your body needs to take extra steps to convert it to the form that it actually requires. Yeah. And if you just eat like I think tallow or something like that, there's basically some parts that will be higher in that particular vitamin in a better bioavailable form. So you'd have to drink a lot of carrot juice, which will probably give you like diarrhea or something if you drink that much.
Yeah,
and in fact, they were saying it was kind of funny. There's this story. I don't know. Again, man, like this entire thing is giant tinfoil hat conspiracy theory thing. But they say basically during World War II, when the Allies obtained like access to radar and they could detect German planes from like further distances, the intelligence services did not want to let it be known that they have that technology, and they were saying, oh, you know, our soldiers, they eat a balanced diet with a lot of carrots, so they have really great eyesight, so they notice the planes from further away. And then people are like, oh fuck, you have to eat carrots to have better eyesight. Like technically, like retinol and eyesight, I think there's some correlation there, but carrots probably have very little to do with that. Again, you know, I'm selling it for what I bought it for. So there, yeah.
Because I also learned that some of these products was actually like commercialized. There wasn't real science, and the companies or the people who actually get this to the consumers, who these veggies, groceries in general, they sponsor some of this propaganda or some of this like research to say, oh, this is good for you. But
massively.
Because they want to sell more of something. So it's not actually like realistic when they say, like, for example, carrot is good for your eyesight. I mean, I've heard a bunch of things that is good for your eyesight. So one time someone said raspberries make you smarter. Like, you know, like.
Yeah, people will be throwing out these like claims. But the thing is like, again, diving much deeper into the tinfoil hat conspiracy territory, the nutrition science and medical science are massively paid for by, you know, the companies. So like the amount of money companies like Pepsi and Coca-Cola and Nestle and their ilk spend on like lobbying and marketing and advertising. And also, you know, now if we start going into the whole like pharma and healthcare, the situation is very dire. But again, I want to argue for carnivore diet and not go into the, you know, I'd start to like get completely deranged if I start talking about that.
We'll get to that.
That
We'll
would be
get
the
to that.
one, that would be the one for the paid subscribers.
Yeah, because yeah, that's a bit dicey. So
Yeah.
for legal reasons, we'll keep it aside for now. And there's another myth about like you need fiber to have a healthy digestive system.
A lot of people
This
say
is
that.
strong. This is
I
strong.
disagree with that. Well, first of all, most fiber that we eat is insoluble fiber, aka our body cannot do anything with it. It just mechanically goes through your system and gets excreted on the other end. And I heard about some studies of people with IBS, and they had like people with fiber in their diet and without fiber in their diet, and people with fiber suffered way more from their IBS because you're just mechanically irritating your bowels and uh, various places on your body that you should not be mechanically irritating more than necessary. So like, and it's indigestible by your body. And a lot of people will claim it's like, oh, in your colon, there's certain bacteria that can digest fiber into some fatty acids, but it's like not much gets absorbed in your colon. So even if those bacteria are there, they are breaking down fiber, probably giving you a ton of gas in the process, and having a bunch of gas in your intestines is not a very nice thing either. You have like a gas bubble traveling through your intestine and it feels very uncomfortable and you fart all the time, polluting the planet.
Oh.
And on top of that, none of those fatty
Yeah.
acids that those bacteria allegedly produce can realistically be absorbed in any meaningful quantities at that stage of your digestive system anyway. So there's literally no point. And, like wood chips are a form of insoluble fiber. Like, go eat those if you need fiber that badly, or like all
So
these
what?
things that people do for sort of high fiber supplements. It's equivalent of like eating wood chips, and it would probably have the same effect. So yeah, don't put too much fiber through your system. You don't need it. You need exactly zero fiber in your nutrition for a regular life.
So you're saying there is no fiber in animal product?
There's probably not gonna be I guess maybe there's gonna be some indigestible things in maybe some of the connective tissues, but nowhere near the amount of fiber you get from all these other things.
But that's the good part. You know? No?
But
The
if it's insoluble and it's not getting processed by your body into anything usable, it travels through, like, okay, it helps form stool. But again, like, do you need it in those amounts? Like, do you need to poop every day? Like, you're essentially supplying your body with all this extra material that makes you poop every day. But do you need to do that on a daily basis? I don't know. I don't think
oh,
so.
oh, oh no, Vasili. You know what? I Okay, so I don't know this, but I don't think it's healthy if you don't do it every day. But this is
But the
not the
thing
show
is,
for
is
that.
that if you don't have anything in your system to excrete, as
Sephora,
in,
is it possible?
well, I mean, you eat a steak, it's mostly fats and proteins, maybe a little bit of stuff gets left over. Most of it gets taken up by your system, so there's really not that much left. The things that you form your stools with is going to be like the dead cells that fall off the lining of your intestine system, and like your body still excretes some things that it doesn't need, but you're not going to have enough material to go to the toilet every day. You're just going to go once every couple of days. So
Every couple of days. You know
yes,
what? I don't know this, but honestly, that sounds scary to me. But
but
maybe
why?
this is a good. Okay.
It's like saying, oh, I have to change oil in my car every 20 minutes just because I can. It's like, if you don't need to do it that often, why would you do it that often? Why would you force yourself to do
Yeah,
it that
because your
often?
body is not, you don't compare your body to a
But your
metal.
body is much smarter. It knows exactly what it needs to excrete and at what time. So if you just fill it up with a bunch of garbage, it's gonna like, okay, well, now I have to get rid of this stuff. So, let's make it happen. So if you don't, it's like, well, I got nothing to do. I'm good for today as far as excretion is concerned.
Well, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. But it just sounded scary to me. But uh, maybe honestly, it sounds scary because
Imagine how much time you'll be saving, because these
no, no,
days you go to
no.
the toilet, you don't go there for 10 minutes to take a shit. No, you stay there for half an hour browsing the phone up until your legs can't
Instagram
feel
is good
anything
there.
anymore from lack of blood
Yeah,
flow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Your phone feels better there. The games work better. You know what? Yeah,
Okay,
like
I don't want to deprive people of their personal time. I think in like the hustle and bustle of modern life, going to
yeah.
the toilet is probably the few moments you're allowed with yourself. So if that's the thing you need in your life, sure,
Mhm.
eat fiber and have your time. But overall, I don't
Mhm.
do it. I don't feel like it's necessary, so I don't do it
Okay.
myself.
Okay. What about meat rots in your colon? Like this
That is a
meat rot.
retarded take.
No?
All like seriously, like what does it mean rot? First of all, rotting is a specific process which involves certain kinds of bacteria, and it implies putrefaction, and it implies like all these different things happening. I doubt any meat ever even reaches your colon to begin with. It gets chopped up into fats and proteins, and that gets chopped up into amino acids and all that other good stuff way before it hits your colon. Like if you ever have any meat in your colon, something's seriously wrong with your digestive system. Like it
I
does
didn't
not
say
reach
it.
there.
I didn't know my words. I just
No, no, no.
I thought
I understand that it's not your personal opinion. It's just a question from the internet.
yeah.
But no, I don't think that take has any. I think maybe if your system is very disordered, like I don't know, maybe you've been eating vegan for 5 years and you're coming back and your system is in complete shock and it's like, holy shit, I don't know what to do with this.
Mhm.
Maybe then, but under normal circumstances, that is absolutely silly. I don't think that that's what's happening at all.
True. Um, because I think yeah, it's broken down in the
Yeah,
by stomach
like
acid. I forgot what's the name of that thing again?
yeah, yeah.
Is it
So
what's
stomach
the name?
acid for proteins, and I think like bile
Yeah.
for fats. But like, what was I gonna say? I forgot.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say like in my personal experience, if I don't eat fibers and carbs, I have zero gas, like no gas. So if something was rotting inside of my digestive system, I imagine there would be a lot of gas and the kind that you don't want to smell ever in your life. Like if you ever smelled rotting meat, like trust me, like that's not
Yeah.
happening. At least not for me. Maybe
Well.
for some medically disadvantaged person that happens. I pity them in that case.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think that that's what's going on.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is not a good. I don't think it's a good one because yeah, like I said, like it's broken down like way before it even gets to that place. But next one, and this one is a big one. I believe this one also for quite some time. Until I looked into the whole diet as well. It says it will destroy your kidneys due to too much protein.
Yeah, that is. I learned a lot about it to say that I don't think that that's the case. I might not be able to explain it very well. Like I've internalized that knowledge, but I don't really know how to explain it well. I'll have to work on that. But I think people say like, oh, there's too much urea in your system, and then you get kidney stones because urea is like a nitrogen-based product, and
Mm-hmm.
if you eat a lot of protein, they produce a lot of nitrogen that turns a lot into urea, and blah blah blah, and all these other things. And I guess a claim in the same sort of domain would be that if you eat carnivore, you get gout, which is like urea crystal in your joints, especially like in your toes. But anecdotally, the opposite is true. Like people who switch to carnivore lose their symptoms of gout, meaning that their urea regulation is normal. And yeah, like I think when it comes to your kidneys, if you eat a lot of leafy greens, you have way more chances of damaging your kidneys than compared to if you eat meat, mostly because of oxalates and fructose. Well, fructose is mostly for the liver. Never mind. Let me take that back. But if you eat a lot of stuff like spinach and things like that, a lot of the a lot of the minerals inside those plants are bound. It's basically the salts of oxalic acid, and they form these really nasty needle-like, super sharp, like razor-sharp needle-like crystals everywhere in your body that like destroys the cells. And kidneys being a filtration system, it has like a lot of extremely tiny pores. So if you have a lot of these razor sharp crystals going through that system, you're going to get a lot of scarring and a lot of damage to your kidneys. And in fact, there was a case of this woman who already had problems with her kidneys, and she drank like several green smoothies, like spinach-based smoothies or kale-based smoothies, and suffered a kidney failure because like probably of that. And most of kidney stones are formed with like oxalic acid crystals, not necessarily urea crystals. So I don't think that's the case. And yeah, like I do my blood tests, and when I look at my GFR, which is like the, what is it, the something filtration rate, it basically measures the function of your kidneys. It like always comes back good. So
I mean, also, like, there is also no evidence that, I mean, maybe there is no, I couldn't find anyone that it actually affects or harms the kidney, but maybe the only thing I would say is maybe there might be some people who already have like kidney concerns, like
mhm,
pre-existing kidney issues. So
right.
I don't know if, I mean, this is just my opinion. As much as I know about it, I'm not gonna
Yeah. So
suggest it.
the other thing about kidney that comes to mind is again like sugars and insulin. That whole system forces you to hold more water. So I don't know if that has like additional load on the kidneys because like it has to filter more things going through it. So it's kind of working overdrive. That is just something that kind of came to my mind. I can't claim that it's related.
Okay.
So
Okay, so we'll move to the next one. And
okay.
this one also, it was believable until I started working on it, looking into it. It says, and I argued with this one, it
Hmm.
raises cholesterol,
Right.
so it must be bad, because I'll give you context. Yeah, there was, I think the first time I was talking to one of my friends about my decision to go carnivore diet.
That
I
was like
think the
last
first,
year when we
yeah,
were doing it together.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think, yeah, this was about, I think it was the first one we did, like maybe 2 years ago. I don't know. I don't
Okay,
remember,
yeah,
but
fair
yeah.
enough.
So, um, when I said I was gonna do it, she said, "Oh, uh, you're gonna die." I'm like, "Well, wait, why do you say I'm gonna die?" And then she was like, "Oh, don't you know like cholesterol?" And I first of all, I don't have any issues with this, but she was really afraid that if you eat a lot of red meat,
Hmm.
and this is going to increase your. But turns out, I don't think this actually has any um um direct correlation to this because I think like there is the LDL, HDL stuff like this, and it's not directly correlated to like these issues. Me,
Well,
but I'll let you discuss this.
I I can go deep into it. I think we should establish first
Mhm.
is that cholesterol is absolutely necessary for your body, as in without it you die. Period.
Okay.
So that's to begin with.
Mhm.
So cholesterol, like you can't make new cells without cholesterol because cholesterol is like a principal component in the cell membrane, cell wall. So if you don't have any cholesterol, you can't make any cells. That's one. Second, cholesterol is precursor for a shit ton of various not vitamins, various hormones and vitamins
Mhm.
as well. Actually, like vitamin D, you can't have vitamin D without cholesterol because cholesterol plus sunlight of certain wavelengths gets converted to vitamin D. You can't have testosterone without cholesterol. I don't even think you can have estrogen without cholesterol. So like without cholesterol, you're truly and utterly fucked. So that's one. The second thing is that I don't think that there is linking between the dietary intake of dietary cholesterol and serum cholesterol, as in cholesterol that's like circulating
Mm-hmm.
within your bloodstream. I mean,
I don't
you
think
can
so.
eat fat all day and probably not raise your cholesterol by a meaningful amount. And then going further, you mentioned LDL, HDL. So there's also VLDL, chylomicron. These are essentially different means of transporting cholesterol around your body, and they differ in density. And there are some correlations between levels of these things and longevity, but one thing, and again, I'm probably butchering it to quite a horrible degree, but in my understanding, uh, basically fats are hydrophobic and you can't transport them into cells unless they're packed into something that is able to like get them through into the cells. And like the job of LDL and all these other things is to actually package your cholesterol so it can swim through your bloodstream and get delivered to the places that it needs to go. And these things basically, funnily enough, the transport, the boat that carries the cholesterol around, like the LDL particle, it's basically
Mm-hmm.
like a boat, and LDL, or sorry, the cholesterol is the cargo, among other things. And it flows around your bloodstream, loading it up, unloading it, like taking it to liver to get recycled, like all these good things. And again, in a very primitive understanding, that boat has identifiers on it so that like when it gets to the cell looks at it, it's like, oh, that's an LDL boat. Dock at my thing, unload your cargo, and be on your merry way. But in the presence of glucose, last episode I briefly mentioned glycation, which is damage to the cells by glucose. So glucose damages those cells, or damages the particles that transport cholesterol around. And then when it gets to the cell's like, I don't know who you are, go away. So there's like a lot of increased free floating cells full of cholesterol floating through your system, and they say, oh, like your LDL is super high, that's bad. Because probably a lot of it is like glycated and your body is refusing to take it up. And I heard also that the liver will also refuse to recycle them. So like a lot of things happen out of whack when like in presence of elevated glucose. So to summarize, without cholesterol, you die. You don't have any hormones without cholesterol. You don't have any
Mm-hmm.
cells without cholesterol. If you don't have vitamin D, it probably affects your mental functions as well. So you need cholesterol. And doctors these days like to put people on statins, which are like cholesterol lowering drugs. But if you look into it, they say that, if you take statins all your life, it may increase your life expectancy by a couple of days. So, like, you're lowering your cholesterol for no serious benefit at all. And yeah,
And
so.
me, did you confirm this though? Like, do you know? I mean, if this is confirmed, because like, I mean, I'm asking this because while we are not doctors or food scientists, I feel like maybe these kind of things might be really huge for some people, in especially cholesterol. And
Right.
just
Well,
to clarify, like, do you think that when doctors put people on like this kind of diet to reduce, I mean, not diet or maybe drugs to reduce their cholesterol, do you think like there could be uh good reasons for this, or like do you think that if you have like a good diet, like carnivore as an example, do you think this could probably like take care of like any kind of underlying issues that could help regulate this cholesterol for
I
people?
I think so. Again, not a doctor, not a medical advice. Um, in terms of statins, I think pharma companies make insane amount of money from statins. And due to the way how North American medical system works, it's a fucked up show of perverse incentives where doctors have a lot of incentives to prescribe people statins, even though they could not really give you any benefit, and they also come with side effects. And if you were to change your actual diet, you probably will get better outcomes. But by saying it, I'm pretty sure YouTube will put like a little plaque at the bottom of the video. You know how they did during COVID? It's like, oh, the opinions presented in this video do not agree with the medical science. Yes, they do not agree with medical science. So do your own research. But yeah, I don't know. My dad is on statins because he had a cardiac event a bunch of years back. And I don't know. I'd rather he wasn't, but me trying to convince him of that is a insurmountable task, so I don't even try.
Okay, fair enough. There's this other one. It's about energy level. You feel tired without carb. You need carbs for energy. Do you agree?
So, again, as we mentioned in the previous episode, your body is capable of producing enough glucose for its own internal needs. And when you say you feel tired, you're probably crashing because of your insulin spike. And it's not necessarily like the carbs is not the source, like it can be used as a source of the energy, but like that dynamic is not necessarily that you need carbs to have energy. It's just like you had a bunch of carbs, you burned through all of them, you spiked your insulin, and then you crashed out, and now you feel hungry and tired again. I don't experience that eating animal based. I just don't. It's just not a thing. And I think you can, you know, I don't know, in Canada it might be more difficult, but like you can get one of those continuous glucose blood monitors, and then just every time you crash out, just look at where your blood sugars are, and through that you can potentially estimate like what your insulin's doing, and you'll probably start seeing a bunch of patterns there.
Actually, I don't agree as well. I feel like after the adaptation phase, I think you will start to maybe in the beginning. Maybe in the beginning when your body is adapting to the new eating diet, um, you could feel maybe also if you're not really eating as much, or like your body is still adjusting, you could feel a bit. I mean, I'm thinking you could feel it's possible to feel a bit it's not tired, but you don't have a lot of energy at first.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're in your adaptation period, you're gonna experience all sorts of different unpleasant things, and I think like low energy is potentially one of them. And I believe that after we completed our recording last time, we were talking like off recording, and I mentioned that again, one thing that I heard is that if in terms of your brain, it has two different pathways of taking up glucose for energy, and one of those pathways is controlled by insulin. So if you eat like a carb heavy meal and your insulin is needed literally everywhere else to get all of that sugar stowed away, your brain is like firing on half the cylinders, and you feel like kind of sluggish and slow and low energy. Again, I can't possibly point to the source. It was during one of those medical conferences recordings that I watch on YouTube, but I can't pinpoint the exact one. And when I heard that, I was like, I guess that does make sense, kind of, if it's true.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does. I think there might have been some studies about this. Like if you eat a lot of maybe starchy food, or like high carb food, maybe a lot of rice or something like this, it's possible for you to have some down time, like you just feel like you're tired, you want to go to sleep or something like that.
You know, people say like, oh, during Thanksgiving, you eat turkey, and turkey meat has a lot of tryptophan, and that's why you feel sleepy afterwards. And it's like, motherfucker, tell me about all of the freaking mashed potatoes and the gravy you had with that turkey before you start talking to me about tryptophan. Like, shut up.
my god.
Like, I imagine there's like a huge pile of mashed potatoes with a lot of gravy on it, and then like a little bit of turkey and some
That's the
cranberry
good
juice that's
stuff.
full of sugar. And it's like,
That's the
oh
good stuff,
yes,
Vasili. That's the
turkey
good
has
stuff.
tryptophan. Turkey has tryptophan, and that's why I'm
That's the
feeling
good
sleepy.
stuff. That's the good
I mean,
stuff. Now you,
I agree with you. I agree with you that it is good stuff. On our way back from the lake, we stopped by
hmm
like a farm store, and we picked up a bunch of like the young potatoes, like the
hmm
smaller ones, the
hmm
freshly made out of the ground. And I agree that stuff is delicious.
Yeah, it is
I'm
good
not gonna
stuff.
deny that a lot of these things taste good. I'm just saying that if you can afford to not eat them, you probably will feel better if you don't.
Okay. Um, there is also, this is not a myth, but I'm just gonna put this here in the middle of the conversation. How do you keep up this diet when you have to also like hang out and like have dinners and stuff with like family, friends, or people who don't really like know much about it? So like you go to a restaurant, for example. I mean, you're not gonna stay at home the entire life. So you
Right.
go to your friend's place or like your hangout and someone offers you pizza. I mean, you could say no to pizza. I feel like this is it.
It's
But
like
you go
that
to a restaurant.
old anti-drug PSA. Just say no.
Yeah, just say no. But I think for pizza, maybe this is easy. Like I feel like if you have a, let's just say in a restaurant,
Right.
you know, and how do you say, oh yeah, save me the meat, but don't put gravy on it, or like just bring the raw meat also.
Well, I mean, if you're in a
Never have done that in
restaurant,
restaurant.
yeah,
Like,
I think that these days it's getting more and more difficult to just afford it because the restaurant prices are basically ridiculous these days. But like most restaurants can probably cook a steak and you can just get it with no sides if you're so inclined. It's tough. I'm not gonna say that it's easy. It is tough. It's more socially awkward. I think like once you let people know what you're doing, if they don't have a reaction along the lines of like, "Oh my God, you're gonna die," they're probably gonna be receptive to it. Like a lot of my friends were, and um, what was I gonna say? Basically, it's doable. You can sometimes just skip stuff, and again, a lot of these things are very hard to say no to, especially if you haven't been doing it for a while. Uh, it's really easy to fall off the wagon because the sugar addiction, is a real thing. Like a lot of people anecdotally, again, not scientific, but a lot of people anecdotally say that getting over the sugar withdrawals was like one of the harder things that they've done in their lives. It's extremely addictive. So anytime you see stuff like pastas and pizzas and garlic bread and all of these things, your brain will be like, gimme, 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 right? So I told you the story how I was like white knuckling a lot of these things. So it's more difficult, but I think it's doable. Um, so you just need to be prepared for the fact.
do you think we need to have more carnivore restaurant?
I think you can find carnivore options at most places, unless you go to like a vegan restaurant, then obviously there's nothing there for you. Um,
Like carnivore specific restaurant.
uh, I
And what
mean,
would
you
they
you
even
you you
serve?
can you can go to like a Balkan type restaurant where it's gonna be just meat for days. Like, I think most restaurants, unless it's like specifically like a pasta restaurant or something like that, where it's just predominantly pasta, you can find some carnivore options. And even most fast food chains, all of them, you can just ask for just the patties with nothing else on it. Maybe cheese if you like cheese, but cheese is the tricky subject. Um, in fact, I was doing it when I first started. I was going to McDonald's and I was getting their breakfast thing with like just a fried egg and just a beef patty and like nothing else. You can do that. You can go to A&W, you could get a bunch of fried patties. So that is doable. Um,
What's your, you know, this is not a carnivore question, but I'm
Hmm.
just curious now. What's your preferred, I don't know if you could use the word favorite here, but your preferred fast food chain?
Preferred fast food chain? I guess A&W.
Hmm. What do you get? What do you get? Like on a good day, non-carnivore day, on a good day.
So even like I usually go for like the grandpa burger, which is like the three
Mm,
beef patties,
I know.
or I go for the one with mozzarella and cheese, like mozzarella burger, mozza burger.
Yeah, you get
I
the good
like
stuff.
those.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you
then
get.
they actually have pretty decent breakfast because if you get like the all Canadian breakfast,
Mhm.
you can just get a bunch of eggs and bacon and sausage, and you can skip the toast and you can skip the hash brown, and you're gonna have yourself a fairly decent carnivore meal.
You know what? Fair point. You know, maybe it's not as expensive as people think it is, but
I mean, okay, so as an anecdote, again, when we were going to the lake, we passed this big farm store on our way, and I
mhm.
stopped by to get some stuff for, for the lake. And I remember a couple of years ago at that store, they had a special. They had this like vacuum packed uh, chunk of ground beef. It was like 10 pounds, and they had it on special a couple of years ago. And I remember it very exactly. It was like 10 pounds of beef for $50. So it was like $5 a pound, which was a really good deal. Guess how much that exact same thing costs there right now?
Humor me, please. Tell me. Um,
94.
94 what?
$94. It's almost double.
Fantastic.
So, yeah,
But,
exactly.
but, well, fair enough. You know what? Fair enough. Let's not even go to that side. There is this particular one before we lose time. I'm going to ask you quickly. So,
Sure.
there is a, you need plants for antioxidants.
Okay.
That's a strong one,
Um,
eh? That's a strong
so,
one.
like, you need antioxidants if you have a lot of oxidative stress in your system. But if you don't have a lot of oxidative stress in your system, what would you need antioxidants for? And I think
Uh,
that carbs and seed oils and various other things would contribute greatly to the oxidative stress. So in their absence, you probably don't need as much.
Actually, what I found about this was that meat also has like compounds like carnosine, taurine,
Yeah.
and also creatine.
Yeah.
Creatine who play like protective roles, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that even creatine is very um, is another day we'll talk about creatine.
Yeah.
But I feel like
Creatine
yeah,
is very,
this
very useful for a lot of things, allegedly, besides just going to the gym and training. I think it
hmm
has.
hmm
I heard again, a lot of it is conjecture, but I heard that it's good for your like mental
yeah,
faculties,
yeah.
things like
We
that.
take a lot of yeah.
Yeah.
So um maybe because of this, I would say this covers for the whole antioxidants from plants, maybe? No? What do you think?
So the thing is that you can't just say, oh, plants have antioxidants, let's eat plants because they have antioxidants. And the reason I'm saying that is because besides antioxidants, they have all these other things that I mentioned, like, you know, uh, all these other compounds that are not necessarily good for you. So just because you get some antioxidative benefit of some compound in plants, you have all of this baggage of all this other crap that you potentially don't want. So it's like, if we consider food to be a drug, every drug has a list of side effects. So you have to be kind of careful to see what particular side effects you can have.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. I mean, one thing I also remember is that I remember that when there was a time that I tried to start combining plants with my meat, I realized that I struggled a bit with this because I was thinking, you know what? I'm eating healthy, just meat. why don't you combine best of both worlds? I
Right.
mean, best of both. Why not have both? So I tried to put some veggies with my meat, but I noticed that I didn't feel as good as I felt when I was just eating meat. I would just put it simply like that. But I mean, of course, it has a different
Yeah.
feeling. But I don't know if this goes well together
I
because if you
think
eat for a long time, I feel like you adding plant based to your diet kind of messes things up. But I'm not sure how to describe how this works.
I feel I know what you're saying. Just on like how my body feels after eating type level. I think I mentioned last time that like if I eat like a 10-ounce steak, I don't feel it. I just eat it. I feel satisfied. I don't feel bloated. I don't feel any kind of heaviness. I don't feel anything in my stomach. It's just like it's not an organ that signals about itself in any way. You know how for most of your body, you don't really feel most of it unless something's happening to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if you are not feeling it, it means everything's going okay. Like, it does not
Mm-hmm.
need to bring any attention to itself because it's operating in perfectly fine conditions. And as soon as I were to be tempted to break my carnivore diet and eat something, I'd be like, oh man, I'm certainly feeling that. And
Mm-hmm.
every time during, I'm like, this tastes delicious. And every time after, it's like I shouldn't have done that. It was not really
Mm-hmm.
worth what is happening now. So, but again, like a lot of these things, they have kind of addictive properties. And if you think about it, like, okay, so we personally, even if I wasn't doing carnivore, I think compared to how many people eat, we eat a very clean diet because pretty much 95% of what we eat, we make ourselves from raw ingredients. So we barely eat anything packaged, or sometimes we eat stuff in a can, like I don't know, like canned tuna or corned beef or something like that. Like there's some cans, maybe some sauces, but in terms of packaged stuff, pretty much never. So all of the food we eat, we prepare, which these days, as I get to understand it, not very many people do. A lot of people eat processed food in some way, shape, or form. So I think like even if I weren't doing carnivore, it's already like a lot better than what a lot of people eat. So for me, going from that to carnivore, I definitely get benefits, but I might not get as much as a person who's switching from like a standard diet, which is usually like a lot of processed stuff, cookies, sodas, pastas, breads, like packaged meats, like deli meats or whatever, things you get out of some vacuum sealed thing, right?
Okay.
Um,
Fine.
and yeah, you
Um.
definitely feel
Mhm.
those. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it what's the longest you've gone on the diet? I've done 8 months.
Hmm,
What's the longest for you?
probably the first time I was doing it. I think I went like from probably around September or October to about December. So it's like
Ah,
so the
oh, the following
December,
year.
like the following year, yeah. Because
Oh,
I
that's more
think
than
I
a
was
year.
I was like very committed at first. So even the festivities for New Year, which is usually the breaking point,
Oh,
I kind of managed to
yeah.
keep myself going. But then the next year,
Mhm.
when I already achieved a lot of the things, like
Mhm.
I've achieved the weight loss and all these other things, and I started being a little bit more relaxed. Because again, as I mentioned in a previous episode, I don't suffer from some horrible debilitating condition where if I break this way of eating, it has really drastic consequences for me. I mean, I think it doesn't have acute drastic consequences, but it does have chronic drastic consequences. So I still shouldn't be doing that, but hey, that's life. And I think the next year, New Year's, all of the traditional cooking, it's really hard to resist. And I think that it kind of went downhill from there. And then there was basically like these bouts of
Mhm.
me trying to restart it and then going back to it. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. What's your favorite festive meal
for
that
New
you
Year's,
yeah.
oh, well, there's a few. There's this mini sandwich where you take the baguette and then you put like butter on it and you put like the smoked sprats, which are these tiny fish, which are really popular. And then I think you add like some tomato on it. It's really
Mm,
delicious.
yeah.
I can eat literally like all of them, which is again, it's like you're not supposed to want to eat more than you need in your life. And these types of foods, they
Yeah.
definitely push you toward eating as much of it as
Mhm.
you can because I think it like
Yeah.
fucks with your
I
genetic
mean,
programming.
yeah, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I was asking about all of this. I mean, about the how long you've gone because I wanted to know. Someone said it's not sustainable long term, and I beg to differ. I feel like if you have I think it depends on the reason why you're doing it. For example, like you and I, like we do it just. I mean, I should speak for myself. I'll let you speak for yourself as well. Like I do it for. It started as an experiment. Okay, Vasili said a lot about carnivore diet. Let me see what it's about. Let me try it for like one day, 2 days, 1 week. Okay, it's not bad. I like it. You know what? Okay, 2 more weeks, and then 1 month. So I went on, and I started to think of it like this could actually become a lifestyle and just live like this. And but the whole social pressure of it and the fact that if I go on like dinner with my friends and or like family and they offer you food and you're like, well, I can't eat this, kind of sounds somehow it's kind of weird. And then you have to explain what is carnivore diet to
Well,
everybody. I
like
felt like I have to
everybody else
preach
is
it.
doing it. It's like, oh, I can't have that. I'm intolerant to gluten, or I'm a vegetarian. And like
Mhm,
a lot of people, the funny thing is that a lot of people are perfectly fine with all these other restrictive diets. But as
mhm.
soon
Oh,
as you
so you
mention
say
you eat
carnivore.
meat only, everyone starts freaking out for no good reason.
I don't understand it too. So you have to
Yeah.
preach it. You have to
Yeah, I
preach
know. I
it
know.
every time, and that just got wore me out. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? It's okay. I'm just gonna eat popcorns and go to sleep.
So
But
like the one thing that I was doing is basically like I never made it a point of contention because sometimes I don't know if you've seen that video and it's like a bunch of people doing a group chat. It's like, oh, for a barbecue, blah 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 blah, and then someone's like, oh, actually I'm a vegan, are there gonna be vegan options? And it's like the person has been removed from the chat because it's like
yeah,
now you're trying to make other people accommodate
yeah,
your things. It's like, oh, I'm gonna need a separate barbecue to fry my vegetables because if any of them come with contact with the barbecue the meat was fried on, I can't eat that. Well, fuck off, bring your own freaking barbecue. Like, why are you making our lives more complicated? So the thing that I was doing with like friends and family is like I was not trying to make their life complicated. It's like if you can't if there's nothing for me to eat here for whatever reason, I'm just not going to eat anything. I'm fine. And the thing is because my control of hunger is way better, I can ignore it most of the time and just not eat and it's fine. Whereas before it would drive me nuts. It's not that big a deal. Just like, okay, I'm just not going to eat anything for the next couple hours. And then if I really am inclined, I'll eat something after. Like, I'm not going to make everything revolve around this thing and just, say no to things and be like, I'm sorry, I'd rather not. Thank you very much for offering, but I prefer not to
just
eat
say
that.
no.
Yeah,
Just say
just say
no.
no.
Just
And
just say no.
like, it's definitely difficult, especially if like if your grandma is trying to give you something tasty from your childhood and now all of a sudden you're going to say no to your grandma. it
Yeah,
there
there's
are
that.
certain aspects of it which is a little bit weird, but I guess that really depends on how easy it would be for you to bounce back. Again, like if you don't have any acute dramatic consequences of eating something that your grandma gives you, indulge your grandma this one time and then like reset and go back to it the next day, that's fine. The thing is like if you have addictive personality and like one little thing like sends you spiraling out, that makes it more difficult. And that's why, removing things from access worked much better for me than trying to exercise my willpower. It's like, oh, I have a bucket of ice cream in my fridge and I'm not gonna eat that because I have so much willpower. And then you've been working for 10 hours and you're tired and you're like, man, that ice cream sure sounds good. And by the end of the day, you have no fucking willpower left. And what do you know? You go and eat it. But if there was no bucket of ice cream in your fridge, that's a whole other obstacle,
You know what?
It's like I'm not driving to a store at 10 p.m. to get some ice cream. I mean, I'm not that desperate. I'm like, ice cream, gotta get my ice cream like a freaking junkie, which is technically sugar addiction. And everybody's being a sugar junkie, that's for sure.
I don't know if it's just me. I hope there are other people who are like this too. For me, I prefer to have that stuff that I'm not supposed to eat around just so I can remind myself I'm not supposed to eat that. Otherwise, I start to have like how do you say that? Like
Cravings?
I'm thinking about the taste.
Yeah.
And now it's I don't know how to explain it, but if I can say it, like I'm not supposed to eat ice cream. I have ice cream in
Yeah.
my
You,
fridge,
you, you
but I'm
start
not
getting
supposed to.
dreams of like cakes and cookies and whatnot. But
You get
the
it,
thing
like
is that it passes. I remember the first time I was doing it, and I think it's the most difficult the first time you're doing it. Like if you've done your adaptation and weaning off sweet stuff properly one time, if you fall off, subsequent times are much easier because you already know that you have like the mental capacity to go through with this again. I remember then going to the store, passing all of the things that I used to really like and feel indifferent about them. Whereas at the early stages, I'd be like, oh my God, I have to have it. It would be like a physical thing where it's just like probably, I don't know. I've never done any kind of drugs, but I imagine that what addicts feel like. It's like, shit, I have to have it no matter what. So you kind of grow out of wanting those things. In a lot of ways, it's very liberating because people say, oh, your diet is so restrictive. You can't have this, you can't have that. But it's not that I can't have that, is I choose not to have that. And it doesn't bother me that I don't want those things anymore. Like, I just don't want those things. And the other thing that I should mention is the sense of taste readjusts massively. After eating carnivore for a really long time, I remember like trying some candy or something that I used to have, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so sweet. My face starts to twitch because we're so used to all of the sugar in our normal diet. Everything is so insanely sweet. Like if you haven't had any sugar for a year and you try like, I don't know, a Mars bar.
Milk
is very sweet too. Like if you get the lactose-free milk, it tastes weird because it doesn't have that sweetness to it. But milk has a lot of sugar. But like, and also the sensitivity to the things that you're not supposed to eat. So a lot of vegetables, I'd be eating them. I'm like, this is way too bitter. And then my girlfriend would eat it. It's like, what are you talking about? I can't feel any bitterness at all. I'm like, this is bitter. Like I could sense the bitterness way more compared to her because I think that she eats it all the time. She's desensitized to it. She doesn't notice it. I eat it. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's a taste to it. Especially with things like mushrooms. I taste so many weird under flavors in mushrooms. I prefer normally not to eat mushrooms because it's this whole other thing. But yeah, like mushrooms. She's very much into mushrooms. But I'm like very kind of skeptical about mushrooms because you really need to know what you're eating. And the amount of active ingredients in mushrooms, like all the alkaloids in mushrooms that we have no idea what they do to our body. There's like tens of thousands of these different compounds in mushrooms that the consensus is like, well, they don't kill us outright, so it's okay to consume. Right?
I guess. There's many of things that we consume like that. But we're gonna stop here today because I mean time.
It's getting a little bit late.
Yeah, but I think next week we can get into like some of the testimonies about uh, carnivore diet.
Yeah, yeah.
This
And
I would like to discuss.
yeah, the other thing that I wanted to cover, because I guess a lot of people, they also have like ethical considerations in terms of like animal welfare and, you know, environmental considerations like pollution and all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a few things to say about that as well. So we can also
Oh
get
yeah.
into that, or maybe it'll be a whole other thing. Who knows?
Mm.
So yeah, I think I'll have to put that meme from Charlie from It's Always Sunny where he's like deranged look explaining shit as a, attention grabbing thing, because definitely a lot of this stuff is very, very tinfoil hat. But I don't know. Maybe it'll piss off somebody enough to leave a comment to be like, how dare you say these things? It's completely wrong.
Well, I hope they understand that we're not doctors. We're just saying our opinions, like what we
Yes,
think about it. So,
that's right. That's right. So, I don't think I have a steak in my fridge, but I do have a bunch of sausages that I got from a farm.
yeah.
So I think I'm gonna cook me up a bunch of sausages and have a lovely dinner. So with that in mind, thank you everyone. If you're thinking about starting carnivore, reach out. I'm okay to chat about my experiences. I think this is like very impromptu. And if you have some specific pointy questions, I can probably answer those. So let me know in the comments and we'll talk more about it in the next one. Thank you everyone and have a great day. Bye bye.